Hello student, my name is Himanshu and today we are going to discuss immunity and immunological products. So here are the introduction of immunity. Immunity is protection against infection or depends on the ability of immune system to distinguish between self and non-self molecules. Non-self molecules are the foreign particles. So immunity is the ability of our body to protect ourselves against any virus or any infection. Immune system. Immune system includes molecules, cells, and tissues that mediate responses to foreign substances. Immunology. It is a branch of biomedical sciences concerned with the response of organism to antigenic challenge, the recognition of self from non-self, and all of the biological, physiological, and physical chemical aspects of immune phenomena. Here is some other important terms which we use, which we should know so that we clear all the aspects of immunity. As it protects us from the disease, it is known as a disease resistance. And what is susceptibility is the lack of the immunity. Pathogen is also known as infectious agent, is a biological agent that causes disease or the illness to its host. Antigens are the substance recognized by the cell and molecules of the immune system to which the system responds. Antibodies are the protein produced or secreted by beta cells. They bind to form substances that invade the body, such as pathogens. The term antibodies refers to its function, which is to bind to an antigen. Toxins are the poisonous substance produced by pathogenic microorganism and leads to infectious disease in the man or animals. Exotoxins, these are the toxins which can be diffused freely through the bacterial cell wall into the blood or the medium in which the microorganisms are growing. Endotoxins are the toxins which cannot diffuse through the bacterial cell wall and are retained within the bacteria. They are released only when the cells dead and start disintegrating. So next is antitoxins. These are the substances containing antibodies produced by them which specifically neutralize the toxins produced by a particular microorganism. Sera or immune sera is a clear fluid which separates from the blood when it clots. It is known as serum. When a serum contains antitoxins, antibodies, it is also known as antitoxic serum. They are usually obtained from animal but sometimes from human serum also. Toxoids are the toxins whose toxicity has been removed by gentle heating or by chemical treatment, but their antigen property are retained. For example, tetanus toxoid and streptococcus toxoid. Vaccines are the substances which are administered in the body to produce resistance against infections. They are mainly used as polylactic treatment. Vaccines may contain living, attenuated, or the kill bacteria, virus, and reticular. Beta cells, a type of the white blood cells that give rise to antibodies, also known as the beta lactosis. Our next topic is type of vaccines. Vaccines are many types, but here we discuss mainly 4 types of vaccine. Simple vaccines contain only one species of microorganism. Mixed vaccines contain 2 or more than 2 species for the microorganism. Mixed vaccine basically give to the child who have fear to the injection, and univalent contain only one strain, and polyvalent contain 2 or more strains of the same species of microorganisms. Next is type of immunity. Immunity is 2 types. One is intangible immunity and next is acquired immunity. So intangible immunity is further subdivided into the 4 categories. This is anatomical barrier, blood protein, cytokinins, and phagocytic barriers. So these are the intended immunities. Acquired immunities are subdivided into the true immunity, passive immunity, and the active immunity. Passive immunity is divided into the two categories. One is natural acquired and next is artificially acquired. And active immunity is also classified the same, natural acquired and artificial acquired. In the next slides, we are going to discuss these all immunity in details. So first is intended immunity. Intended immunities are also known as a natural and native immunity. Consist of mechanisms that exist before infection and are capable to rapid response to the microorganisms or adapted to an potential pathogenic or the foreign substance. Intended immunity we also known as it a first line of defense present in the healthy individual. There is no memory or intended immunity categorized into the four defense barriers, anatomical or physical barrier. So first is skin. Skin has acidic pH because they have the pores in our body, and so microorganisms are not grown in acidic environment. Mucous membrane also entrap foreign particles to protect them to go inside our body. Phagocytic barriers, temperature and the low pH. Temperature, body temperature and the fever response inhibit growth of some pathogens. Low pH, acidic pH of stomach, skin and vaginal pH kills most ingested microorganisms. Next barrier is mechanical removal. In this first is mucus. In the respiratory microorganism trapping and attachment prevention by the mucus. Next is here propels the mucus and trapped microbes towards the site of removal. Cough and sneezing reflux, respiratory tract reflux, the microorganism through coughing and the sneezing. Vomiting and diarrhea is GIT response against the pathogenic bacteria. Flushing of body fluid system. Fluids such as tears, urine, saliva, sweat also flush microorganisms from the body. Chemical barrier. There are the three chemical barriers. First is lysoenzymes. Bactericidal enzymes secreted by the cells found in tears and at surface. Lactoperoxidase, mucosal secretion that stimulates to produce toxic radicals. Surfactant protein A and B present in lungs present as oicins enhancing the phagocytic activity of the cells. Next is blood protein. Ingest and destroyed microorganism by endocytic and pathocitosis. Next is cytokinase. Tissue damage and infection induce leakage of vascular fluid containing serum protein with antibacterial activities. Next is types of intent immunity. There are basically four types of intent immunity. First is species immunity. Species immunity is the total immunity shown by a member of species against pathogens. For example, birds immune to tetanus. Next is racial immunity. Racial immunity is that in which various races shows marked different in their resistance to certain infectious disease. For example, Negroes have high resistance to yellow fever, whereas white men are susceptible to it. Individual immunity. Individual immunity is a very special for each and every individual despite having same racial background and opportunity for exposure. It is well known that some persons have more resistance to cold and skin infection than the other ages. It is one of the other factors which affects our immunity because children and all persons have lower immunity as compared to the adult and healthy person. Next type of immunity is acquired immunity. Acquired means adapting the immunity, and this immunity is also known as adapting immunity. In the immunity that is developed by the host in its body after exposure of suitable antigen or transfer of antibodies and lymphocytes from any immune donor. It develops more slowly and mediates more effectively defense against the infection. So acquired immunity, which characteristics of acquired immunity: antigenic, diversity, immunological memory, and the self and non-self recognition. So एक्वायर इम्यूनिटी में क्या होता है, हमारी बॉडी में कभी भी एंटीजन जाएगा अंदर, तो एंटीजन क्या करेगा, हमारी बॉडी को इल करना स्टार्ट कर देगा. जब हमारी बॉडी उस पैथोजन को रिकॉग्नाइज करेगी, उसके बाद हमारी बॉडी रिस्पॉन्स करेगी और रिस्पॉन्स के बाद वो एंटीबॉडीज बनाना स्टार्ट कर देगी. एंटीबॉडीज जब बनेंगी तब क्या करेंगी, एंटीबॉडीज उन पैथोजन को किल करेंगी और किल करने के बाद हमारी बॉडी उस पर्टिकुलर वायरस से या पैथोजन से इम्यून हो जाएगी. Types of acquired immunity. Acquired immunity is of two types, active and the passive immunity. First is active immunity. It is induced by natural exposure to a pathogen or by vaccination. It is categorized into two types. First is naturally acquired active immunity. Active immunity is acquired through continuous subclinical infections caused by bacteria and virus, which largely remain unnoticed and which is more advantageous than passive immunity. Artificial acquired immunity. This type of immunity is usually adopted through vaccination or through administration of toxoids. Vaccines of kill or live attenuating microorganisms, whereas the toxoids are prepared by toxins which have been inactive by certain clinical treatments and modifications so as to make them non-toxic in nature. So जब एक्वायर इम्यूनिटी की बात होती है तो वो दो टाइप की होती है और हमारी बॉडी से खुद से एक्वायर करती है, हमारी बॉडी खुद एंटीबॉडीज बनाती है, तब एक्वायर इम्यूनिटी कहा जाता है. एक तो नेचुरली एक्वायर इम्यूनिटी होगी, एक आर्टिफिशियल एक्वायर इम्यूनिटी होगी. नेचुरल में क्या होगी, जब हमारी बॉडी किसी भी पैथोजन से या बैक्टीरिया से इन्फेक्ट होगी, हमारी बॉडी नेचुरली रिएक्ट करके एंटीबॉडीज बनाएगी. आर्टिफिशियल एक्वायर में क्या करेंगे, हम वैक्सीन लेंगे, टॉक्सोइड्स लेंगे पर्टिकुलर बैक्टीरिया के अगेंस्ट, हमें वो डिसीज तब तक नहीं होगी, हम पहले से प्रिवेंशन लेंगे ताकि हमें फ्यूचर में वो डिसीज कभी ना हो, इसलिए वो कहेंगे आर्टिफिशियल एक्वायर इम्यूनिटी में आएंगे. नेक्स्ट टाइप ऑफ एक्वायर इम्यूनिटी इज पैसिव इम्यूनिटी. पैसिव इम्यूनिटी इज अचीव्ड बाय ट्रांसफर टू इम्यून products such as antibodies or sanitized T cells from an immunity individual to non-immune one. These are two types. First is naturally acquired passive immunity. This can be acquired through the transfer of immunoglobulins from mother to fetus. This immunity lasts for about 6 months after the birth. Antibodies, chickenpox, diphtheria, measles, and scarlet fever are transmitted in this way. That is why the infant shows high resistance against this type of disease only for about 6 months after the birth. After 6 months, this immunity is lost automatically. Artificially acquired passive immunity. In this type of immunity is produced by injecting antibodies containing preparations such as antisera, sera, and the immune seras. The antibodies are first produced in the animal, usually a horse and obviously some other persons, and then injected into the person. Routine passive immunity is done against different diseases like tetanus, and rabies, diphtheria, and many more. Thank you so much for watching this lecture. I think your doubts may be clear in this lecture regarding to the immunity and the type of immunity.